I get messages from people all the time saying they just moved to the US from whatever country. And first of all, they normally say, I started developing gut issues. I started developing skin issues. I started getting tired all the time. It's so difficult to navigate the grocery store. And they tell me about the differences in ingredients. It's like in other countries, they don't have most of these products that we have here in America. And some people wonder why Americans are so fat, sick, and unhealthy. I'd say that a majority of that is due to the food that we're eating. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 45 of the Clean Kitchen Podcast. I'm Kyle.
I'm Kevin.
That's right. We're doing those intros again. Kevin, how are we doing this morning?
I'm doing great. It's been a while since we've had just you and I. We've had so many guests recently.
I know. It's been great, though, right?
It has. Oh, it's been awesome. I've learned a ton.
And Kevin is, as an influencer, I get a lot of free products. Kevin is now reaping the rewards of getting a lot of free products. He's got his Nads shirt on. He got some Nads organic underwear. What else? You got some other things on the way, I think, right, Kevin?
I've got a loom box on the way. I feel like an influencer. This is awesome.
That's awesome.
Repping the brands.
Absolutely. Well, today, you know what, Kevin? You kick us off. What are we talking about today?
Yeah, today. So we're talking about actually one of the most popular food categories in the world, Kyle. We're going to be talking about cereal. Specifically, there was a headline recently about a new Trix cereal that tested positive for heavy metals. Did you see this?
I feel like I saw something about it, but I don't know the specifics.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's break it down here. So this is actually brand new. So February 1st, General Mills, which is the company behind a lot of very popular cereals, including Trix, released a new line called Loaded. You've probably seen it in the grocery store if you walk down the cereal aisle. It's basically all of the classic cereals, but they're all loaded with this artificially flavored vanilla cream. First of all, if you look at the box, it looks disgusting. And we'll look at it here.
Yeah, I want to see it.
Let me share my screen.
Loaded. It should say loaded with fake ingredients.
Yeah, just look at that.
So loaded with vanilla cream filling.
Yeah.
Okay, so this cereal specifically, they tested and they found heavy metals in it.
That's right. Yeah. So a group called Moms Across America, which I guess they do a lot of different testing of foods. They took this cereal and tested it for heavy metals, and they found alarming levels of both neurotoxins and carcinogens. We've talked about both of those things before, but to just quickly kind of debrief on what those are. First, the neurotoxins. This is related to heavy metals, and when we learned about heavy metals in our fish episode, but heavy metal exposure can threaten neurological development, not only in adults, but also in children who these cereals are actually targeted for, and they build up in your body. It is extremely difficult to get rid of these heavy metals. That's exactly what we talked about in the fish episode. And so you want to try and minimize your exposure to any sort of heavy metals at all. So that's the first thing. They also found a lot of aluminum in this loaded version of the Trix cereal. And what is aluminum? Well, aluminum causes an increased risk of Alzheimer's and breast cancer, which is also really scary. And it can be linked to autism too. And then the last thing that they found in here is our favorite glyphosate, which we want to avoid at all costs. It is the active ingredient in Roundup, as a reminder, and widely linked to cancer. It's a known carcinogen, is what we've talked about before. And so they found all of these things in a kid's cereal.
That's super scary. I mean, heavy metals in and of itself, is bad for adults, but it's even worse for kids, especially for a developing child, an infant, or I guess not infant, but toddler and kids to be getting these heavy metals is so bad. It can really affect the way they grow, and it can affect their brain health. So that's scary in and of itself. But then also, and the aluminum, it's funny you mentioned aluminum. I just filmed a reel the other day at Costco talking about aluminum foil, because a lot of people like to use aluminum foil for baking or, covering foods or grilling or whatever it may be. And same thing here, like that aluminum from the aluminum foil can leach into your foods, and then you eat the aluminum, and it's not good for your health. It's not beneficial at all. So, especially if you're covering foods that are hot, because then that allows the aluminum to leach even more into your foods, or if you're, putting it on a baking sheet and then baking something directly on top of it.
Yeah, I've never thought about that. Like, what I'm thinking immediately when you said that is if you wrap, like salmon is commonly wrapped in aluminum foil and then put on the grill.
Mhm.
That is something people should avoid doing.
Yeah, stop doing that for sure.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
there a alternative, like a healthier aluminum foil equivalent if you do want to wrap your food?
I'd say parchment paper is probably your best option.
Okay. Can you put that on a grill? Can you heat that up?
Yeah, you can heat that up. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, but try to look for unbleached parchment paper because a lot of parchment paper is bleached, and when when it's white, it's bleached. So look for one that's brown. That's kind of the natural color of it.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
A little bonus tip there. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Video coming soon.
Video. There you go. Little teaser behind the
Yeah.
scenes. Okay. So we've got this new line of cereal that tests positive for all of these things you really want to avoid. How does something like this happen? The Moms of America group actually came out and said that the FDA doesn't really regulate heavy metal in food supply. It's not something that they're actively testing, which is a bit surprising. And so what the Moms of America group is, they actually took this one step further and they tested a few other common foods that a lot of kids are consuming. Specifically, they tested school lunches, which everyone around America is having school lunches that are usually prepared by some sort of third party and brought in for all of these kids, whether it's provided by the school or you can purchase it there. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands of kids that have school lunches every day. And what they found is that there are actually more toxins in those school lunches than there are nutrients. Do you remember when we were in school, all of the different foods that we had? Do you remember the types of foods we were eating as kids?
Well, I feel like fortunately for us, I feel like our mom would always make us lunch. So for the most part, we weren't getting the hot lunch, right? Is that what they called it?
Yeah, hot lunch, yeah.
Yeah, hot lunch. But I remember, it was always like Chick-fil-A, pizza, maybe sandwiches.
Burgers.
Burgers.
Yeah.
Never like chicken and potatoes or something like that. I don't know, something simple like that. Never something like that.
Yeah. It was always something that could be made quick and heated up quickly.
Yeah.
But I feel like too, especially in high school, so many of the snacks that they had, it was like Big Texas. We always get one of those.
The cinnamon rolls.
Yeah. Airhead Extremes. All this just candy and junk food.
Yeah.
That was there.
Donuts.
And, nothing that was good for you.
No. They didn't even have, I know, that's kind of sad looking back on it now. They didn't even have like bananas.
No, I don't remember any fruit. No. Definitely not.
And then, I mean, same deal with the lunch. It was always, it was Chick-fil-A, pizza, burgers.
Yep.
Same thing every week.
Yeah. There's a video, someone that we both follow, Evil Food Supply. He put out a full video documenting the history of school lunches.
Oh, yeah.
Like 20, 25 minutes on YouTube. We'll link it in the description. It's worth watching if you've never heard about school lunches. It's crazy how much background information there is on school lunches.
Yeah, definitely. That YouTube channel in general has a lot of great demystifying type videos. So highly recommend checking that out. They're very entertaining too. They're like very short documentaries almost.
Yes, exactly. He does a great job working on those. Okay, so school lunches, another place that really, if you can avoid it to the best of your abilities, it probably is worth it. If you can make your own food, whether that's a healthy version of a sandwich or even something else, it is worth prioritizing that.
Before you get to the last point here, did they test these specific school lunches and found that they were higher in toxins?
Yeah, they just tested school lunches across America.
Okay.
And found that for the majority of them, they had more toxins than nutrients in them.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, so I assume same deal. Probably a lot of heavy metals, probably a ton of glyphosate. I mean, all of those, some of the most highly sprayed crops are wheat, oats, any beans, legumes, things like that are all sprayed with glyphosate. So yeah, scary.
It is. It is scary, especially because it's the kids that all these things are targeted at.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, so they tested cereal. They've tested school lunches. The last thing they tested was fast food. Not too surprising. Of all the fast food places that they tested, 100% of them tested positive for heavy metals and 100% of them tested positive for glyphosate. So you can almost guarantee if you're having fast food, you are consuming heavy metals and glyphosate, which is terrifying, again, to think of.
Yeah, unfortunately, that doesn't surprise me, especially the
No.
glyphosate piece.
Yep. You would expect it in fast food
Yeah,
places.
well, yeah. I mean, like I just said, one of the most highly sprayed crops is wheat, and every fast food place is going to use wheat in their bread, or their bagels, or their donuts, or whatever it is. So, and there's no chance they're using organic glyphosate free wheat. So, yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Not shocking. Yeah. So we've actually got the top 9 fast food restaurants in terms of prevalence of glyphosate.
Uh-huh.
Kyle, what do you think the most commonly sprayed fast food restaurant, I guess, that has exposure to glyphosate is?
Glyphosate specifically, well, like I just said, wheat is probably one of the most highly sprayed crops. And with that, I'd probably guess some sort of pizza place, maybe, because they're probably using the most wheat. So maybe like Domino's or Papa John's.
Yeah, not a bad guess. Domino's and Little Caesars are both on the list of most common. But the number one, which was actually a little bit of a surprise to me,
Mhm.
was actually Panera. I think of Panera as like a
Oh,
healthier kind of fast food option. At least that's the way in my head I think about it.
yeah.
But obviously they are not prioritizing glyphosate free type of ingredients.
Yeah, I'd say you're not alone in thinking that Panera is, a better for you option. Like growing up, that's exactly what I thought too. We would always go to Panera. I'm like, oh, we're going to a healthy place now.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but I actually get a lot of questions about Panera bread because people think it's a healthier option. And I guess a couple of years ago, I just went on their website to look at the ingredients, and the ingredients they're just as bad as any other fast food place. So it's don't fall for it. It's not healthy. Even their commercial, it's funny. It must have been when the NCAA tournament was going on.
Mhm.
I kept seeing Panera bread commercials, and at the end of the commercial, they always say like clean ingredients, clean food, Panera bread, or something like
Mm.
that. It wasn't that word for word, but it's something with like clean ingredients. And I was just like, they're lying. They're lying straight to our face.
Mhm.
There is not clean ingredients. And I meant to make a reel about that and kind of just, choose a few menu items and talk about the ingredients, which I still should. But yeah, Panera, wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
It is, yeah. So just to round out the top 9 here that the Moms of America tested. So most common in terms of glyphosate was Panera, then Arby's. And honestly, there was actually a pretty big drop off between Panera and Arby's. So Panera was by far and away the leader here.
Mm.
Then after Arby's is Dairy Queen, and then Little Caesars, Burger King, Domino's, Dunkin' Donuts, Popeyes, and KFC. A couple notable fast food places that are not on the list, actually, the two that stand out to me at least, are McDonald's and Wendy's are not on here, which is somewhat good to see that they're
Yeah.
not, at least in the top 9, probably have some sort of glyphosate exposure, but not as much as other places.
Yeah, if you're going to go to any of these places, I'd say skip the bread, and then you're probably going to be avoiding most of the glyphosate. So it looks like they tested specific menu items here at these places, correct?
That's right. Yes, it tested. They tried to compare like apples to apples as much as they can. So for Panera, they tested the deli ham sandwich is what had the most glyphosate, and Arby's they tested the classic chicken sandwich.
Gotcha. So I don't know for sure, but I'm going to assume that all of these different menu items that were tested, the glyphosate is coming from the wheat in all of these. These all have bread. They're all sandwiches or pizza or breakfast sandwiches. So avoid that wheat, and then you should be avoiding the glyphosate because, well, I guess technically like beef or chicken still can be contaminated with glyphosate, but I would think it would be much lower than the bread.
Yep, exactly. So glyphosate continues to be a major theme in our food, unfortunately. Here, okay. So we've got all this fantastic testing. Shout out Moms America for doing all this research and putting it out here publicly. Hold some companies accountable. What are you supposed to do with this information that we have? A couple different kinds of recommendations here. One is just to avoid cereal, specifically talking about cereal. Most of them are kind of littered with seed oils and can cause a lot of digestive issues. And it might just be better to avoid cereal altogether if you can.
They're garbage.
Kyle put it a little bit more directly than I did.
99% of cereal is garbage. There's a few good brands which we can talk about, but most of them are garbage.
If you walk down the cereal aisle, is it one of the worst aisles compared to like other food categories to try and find healthy items?
But I'd say like the snack aisle is just as bad. But the thing is with cereal, it's like cereal was promoted and may even still be promoted as a healthy breakfast. Mm-hmm. That's the worst part. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, it's just wheat flour, vegetable oils, and corn syrup. That's not healthy at all. Whereas, the snacks like fruit roll-ups or gushers or things like that, I think people know is not healthy and they're not necessarily promoting it as healthy. But the cereal, with literally the same ingredients, is promoted as a healthy, balanced diet because they put these artificial nutrients in there to basically convince you that, oh, you're getting everything you need from this cereal. No. So from that perspective, I would say that, yes, cereal is the worst aisle because they're tricking you into thinking that it's a good way to start your day.
Yep. Yeah. I think just recently, the CEO of Kellogg's, I want to say, inflation is a hot topic in America. A lot of families are struggling to even just purchase healthy foods. And the CEO of Kellogg's just came out and said that you should basically have cereal for dinner because it's cheap and it meets all your nutrients. And it was just crazy of him to say that, just finding a way to kind of plug his cereal there. I think just have to take it at face value, and it's just marketing.
Yeah, I saw a lot of videos go viral of people like stitching that, like duetting it, and being like, "This is just insane." Mm-hmm. I mean, go to Walmart and buy some 100% grass-fed beef. You can buy a pound of beef for like $4. Mm-hmm. Cereal now is like $4 or $5 for a box of cereal. Like, just buy a pound of ground beef. You can feed 2-3 people with that, and it's just as cheap.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah, don't do the cereal for dinner or breakfast.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So if you are looking for cereal, Kyle, what should people look for if they're looking for a healthy cereal?
I mean, I'd really just say there's 3 brands to look for. Instead of like talking about specific ingredients, I'd say there's really just 3 brands that I like and skip all the other ones. Mm-hmm. Number 1, 7 Sundays. That's my personal favorite. Maple sea salt, number 1 flavor. My favorite all-time cereal. Mm-hmm. Next one, Lovebird. Also a great option. These are all gluten-free, so they're using things like cassava flour as opposed to wheat flour, so it's much easier on your digestive system. No gluten. And then also, I know 7 Sundays is glyphosate-free. They test for glyphosate to ensure there's no glyphosate getting in there. I'm not sure about Lovebird. I'm sure they are because they use such high-quality ingredients. So those 2, and then Purely Elizabeth also has a good cereal. I think those first 2 that I mentioned, they're grain-free, meaning they don't use any grains, so no oats or anything like that. But Purely Elizabeth is, believe they use oats, but it's, again, organic oats, and they should be glyphosate-free. Maybe not, according to our chart.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're not watching on YouTube, we put together a blog of the top cereals to look for, and at the very bottom, there's actually a chart that compares them all in terms of a few different categories: gluten, grain, and then natural flavors and glyphosate. And we show with a check or an X whether or not they follow each of those different categories there. So if you want to check it out, again, we'll leave it in the description. Mm-hmm. But it's a good way to kind of compare a lot of the healthier cereal options.
Yes. Yeah, well, I forgot we did this blog post. This is super helpful. So definitely, if you don't know what to get for cereal, I personally like to, when I'm having cereal, I have it as a dessert. I don't have it as a meal. I would recommend you do the same if you are consuming cereal. But yeah, this blog post that we wrote is super, super helpful. It goes in depth. So definitely check that out in the description.
Yeah. Yes. I completely agree. Cereal, I have it as a dessert, or like if I want a little bit of a snack at like between lunch and dinner, I'll have a little bowl of cereal. And then the other thing too with cereal, while we're talking about it, is the importance of the milk that you use as well. We had a whole podcast episode on milk, but if you were to add milk to your cereal, which a lot of people like to do, I love having like a whole milk. If I can, grass-fed, that I feel like it fills me up so much more than just a normal snack would. A nice bowl of like 7 Sundays with grass-fed whole milk is delicious.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're getting those healthy protein. You're getting the healthy protein and fat from that whole milk.
Mhm.
I'd say the best type of milk you could do would be something like whole grass-fed raw whole milk. Again, very difficult for people to get raw milk, but like Kevin said, just regular grass-fed milk, whole milk is a great option as well, or even A2 if you can find that.
Yep, absolutely. All right, we're going to pivot here a little bit and kind of zoom out on this cereal issue. This is not something that we see in isolation. Specifically, what I mean is these ingredients that companies are including in US based foods is something specific to the US.
Mm.
Countries based in Europe, like the UK specifically, have a lot different ingredients when you actually look at the labels between the two. So we're going to do a little bit of a game here, comparing, contrasting foods, the same version of foods in the US and then in the UK. And another popular influencer, the Food Babe, wrote a full blog article on it. So we're going to go through that and look at some of these to compare and contrast them.
Yeah, shout out Food Babe. She's got a ton of great content on her Instagram, but then she also has this blog where she goes in depth on a lot of these different ingredients. So highly recommend checking out her if you have not already.
Yes, she was actually very involved in the Trix loaded cereal. I think she helped put together a petition, got 100,000 signatures for Kellogg and General Mills to remove some of the ingredients that are in the cereal that we talked about. Yes, but okay, we're sharing our screen here if you're on YouTube. The first item we're going to compare, one of the most popular items in the world, one of the most beloved items in the world, McDonald's French fries. And if we look at them in the US and the UK, something stands out here in the ingredients. Kyle, what is it?
So first of all, I do want to say McDonald's used to use beef tallow to fry their fries. It was just potatoes and beef tallow, and then they'd add some salt to it. This was probably, I think, 1980s, 1990s maybe. But then when vegetable oil exploded and they found that it was so incredibly cheap to make vegetable oils and use in our food, and they can make so much money off of us, that's when McDonald's switched. So in the US, they use potatoes, vegetable oil, and the specific vegetable oils, canola, corn oil, soybean oil, hydrogenated soybean oil, which is debatably the worst type of oil you can consume, natural beef flavor. I guess that's in the vegetable oil, and then there's some other additives in there as well. So that's the US version. And then the UK version is just potatoes and then vegetable oil. They still use vegetable oil, but they use sunflower and rapeseed oil, which I'd say maybe is a little bit better than canola, corn, and soybean oil. But then they don't add any of these other additives. There's no natural beef flavor. There's no sodium acid pyrophosphate, which I have no idea what that is. And there's no dimethyl polysiloxane either in the UK version.
How, first, like, who's coming up with these chemicals to add to food? Like, these things are crazy. If you try to look at these and just pronounce the words, that's insane.
I mean, it's like it's food scientists. It's people's job or flavor scientists to combine these different chemicals and flavors together to get that perfect amount of saltiness and fat and sweetness or whatever on your tongue. And I don't know where these chemicals come from, but the UK is doing a much better job than the US of keeping them out of their food. The US, we just don't care as much, I guess.
No, it is. It's sad to see this easy comparison between these two French fries. But Kyle, I would say the McDonald's French fries, they still have vegetable oil. So are those two, sunflower and rapeseed, are those, I don't know, better than the other vegetable oils? Would you still avoid them, right?
Yeah, you could say they're a little bit better, but I would not touch McDonald's French fries either in the US or the UK.
No, still an avoid.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yep. So a little bit better in the UK, but still not great.
Yeah, but the UK, I mean, they're much better in terms of the ingredients that they allow versus don't. They have a long list of banned ingredients where the US doesn't. And here's another example right here.
Yeah. The next one we've got here is Quaker oatmeal, another extremely popular food for everyone, really. But the first impression, if you're looking at these ingredient listings, is just how much longer the one in the US is. How many more ingredients they have in here.
Yeah, and this is one of the main topics of conversation when you compare ingredients in the US versus the UK. It's artificial colors. As we can
Mm,
see right here, red 40 is right there in this heart healthy oatmeal in the US, but you will not find red 40 in the oatmeal in the UK.
no. Yeah, that is the one that stands out to me. We've talked about before how detrimental really red 40 can be, and all of the other artificial colors are.
Hmm.
There's a whole TED talk that we mentioned previously that compares how these different artificial colors impact specifically children. Um,
Hmm.
and ADHD is commonly associated with the consumption of red 40. And so for this detrimental artificial color to be banned in the UK is something that I think is really important to not see it on this ingredient listing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have artificial color. So in the US, when we have artificial colors, we have a few different gums, we have artificial flavors, and then we have all these synthetic vitamins. None of those things are in the UK version. And in this case, the UK version, this one's actually pretty clean. Yes,
Hmm.
they do use non organic oats, which are most likely contaminated with glyphosate. So I probably wouldn't recommend this. And they still use regular sugar. They don't use, coconut sugar or maple syrup or honey or anything like that. But besides that, they're just using real raspberry, real strawberry, and a little bit of natural flavors in there as well. But I mean, when you compare these two, the UK version is so much better.
So much better. It's also every word on the UK side I can pronounce and go
Yeah.
through pretty easily.
Yes.
The one in the US, I'd have to like seriously pronunciate or enunciate some of these words to pronounce them.
And this is a good note here that food that I believe Vani Hari, Food Babe, made at the bottom here. There's not even any real strawberries in the strawberries and cream oatmeal in the US, but they use real strawberries and real raspberries in the UK. So just
Mhm.
another note there. A lot of flavored items in the US don't even have that ingredient. They just use natural flavors,
Yep. Yeah.
which we
She
know
calls it a total scam there.
total scam. It is. She's absolutely right.
Yeah. All right. Mountain Dew is the next
Mm.
one here. Compare and contrast between these two. Mountain Dew, I think, is pretty much an avoid at all costs
Yeah.
kind of drink for us. But even just let's look at the comparison between the two, the US version versus the UK version. Maybe the first thing that stands out to me on the US one, Kyle, that high fructose corn syrup, the second
Mhm.
ingredient listed on the Mountain Dew. And I don't see it at all on the UK version.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. High fructose corn syrup in the US, and instead they just use regular cane sugar in the UK, which is definitely a better option. I'm still not going to recommend it, especially in this bottle. There's probably like 40, 50 grams of sugar in here.
Yeah.
So, not the best, but high fructose corn syrup is, I'd say, one step worse than regular cane sugar. It's even more processed.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And then the other one, too, on the US side, yellow 5. So another one of those artificial colors.
Mhm.
None of that in the UK version.
Yeah, look
it
at
says,
that. Yeah,
It says color. I'm not sure what that refers to. Beta carotene.
they're just using beta carotene to color it. So beta carotene is found in something like carrots, gives
Huh.
it that orange color. So
Mhm.
it's natural. They're taking something natural and just using the color naturally as opposed to using yellow 5, which is
Mhm.
fully synthetic. There's also I'm not sure. So brominated vegetable oil, they use that in the US version as well. This is an ingredient that I think California recently passed a law saying that they are banning brominated vegetable oils along with like 3 other preservatives. I don't think it's going into effect until like 2025, I think they said. But at least one state is recognizing that some of these ingredients are harmful and that we should not be including them in our food supply. So kudos to California.
Yeah. Yeah. You're exactly right. September of last year, California Senate and Assembly passed the California Food Safety Act, which banned the use of brominated vegetable oil.
There you go.
Yep.
And it was like 3 other ingredients as well.
Yep. Potassium bromate was the other one. And then propylparaben and red number 3.
Paraben. That's so propylparaben, I guess, is a type of paraben. Did you hear Carly talking about that at dinner last night?
No, I didn't. What is paraben?
So parabens are found in a lot of personal care products. And Carly, for those of you who don't know, Carly is our sister at Clean Living Carly on Instagram. She talks all about personal care products. And she mentioned that there was a study done where they tested a certain amount of cancers, and 98% of the cancer tested was found to contain parabens in them. And one of the reasons it's thought to contain parabens is because so many, I think it was specifically breast cancer as well. A lot of women use deodorant, and a lot of deodorant contains parabens, and that deodorant is right next to the breast area. So that can easily kind of get into that area of the body and form cancer. So I'm glad to see that California is banning this specific type of paraben. I think there's so many different other types as well. But just a note here, when you are buying personal care products, look for one that does not have any parabens in it.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Carly said that the most important swap to make, the first one you should make if you're looking to make a personal care swap, is that deodorant, because of how it just leaches right into your skin.
Yeah, your armpits are so highly absorbable. So yeah, definitely make that swap if you haven't already.
Yep. All right.
What's next? What's next?
We got Heinz ketchup as the next one here.
This is a
Heinz,
good one.
an American-based company, so you'd think, maybe they'll prioritize the U.S. version, right? Wrong. Wrong here. Looking at the ingredient listing between the two here, the thing that first stands out to me is that high fructose corn syrup. It must be banned in the UK. I don't know that for a fact, but it's just not showing up in any of these. But it's showing up in the US version. And then the other one is natural flavoring in the US version that does not show up in the UK version of ketchup.
I didn't think, because I knew I've looked this up before. It's not banned. High fructose corn syrup is not banned in the UK. But for some reason, they just care more about their people, I guess. And they know that high fructose corn syrup is not good. So they opt for just regular sugar, regular cane sugar, instead of high fructose corn syrup. And this is actually the first product where I would consume this ketchup maybe. It's just tomatoes, vinegar, sugar. And the amount of sugar in here is very small anyway. Just make sure you're not, adding a ton of ketchup to your meals. Yeah. Salt, spices, herbs, and that's it.
Yeah, it looks clean. It looks like you'd see this on like a clean ingredient label in the US.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. And yeah, you're right. I think 2015, General Mills actually made a statement that they were going to remove a lot of these ingredients from the UK. I think they just got pressure from lobbying groups or some other people to remove a lot of these ingredients that wasn't required by law. But that was 9 years ago. So this is something that's been in effect for a long time. They're prioritizing the ingredients that are used in versions outside of the US. And it's not just, we're looking at US versus UK. You can do the same thing with Canada and the US as well. They prioritize ingredients in just other countries outside of the US. Yeah.
Yeah. And just kind of going off that too, I get messages from people all the time saying, oh, they just moved to the US from whatever country. Mm-hmm. And first of all, they normally say, I started developing gut issues. I started developing skin issues. I started getting tired all the time. And they're like, it's so difficult to navigate the grocery store. And they tell me about the differences in ingredients. It's like in other countries, they don't have most of these products that we have here in America. And we still wonder, at least I think some people wonder why Americans are so fat, sick, and unhealthy. And I'd say that a majority of that is due to the food that we're eating.
100%. It's so hard to disagree when you do have these stories from people moving from other countries, and you have to make a real effort to shop healthy in the US. You have to know what you're looking for, and you have to be educated. And that's just not the case in a lot of other countries. You can pick up something off the shelves and at least feel somewhat decent that it's going to be okay for you.
Yes.
Yep. All right. Next one here we've got is Doritos, popular snack for a lot of different people. Looking at the different versions, specifically, we're looking at Cool Ranch here, popular flavor of Doritos. The ones that are highlighted in red here, the difference between the two is that artificial color that we talked about. Red dye 40, blue 1, yellow 5, all in the US version. None of that in the UK version, but they do have annatto. Do you know what that is, Kyle?
I don't know where it comes from, but yeah, I know it's just to get that orange color.
Yeah.
I was more of a nacho cheese guy.
Ooh,
what about you?
So I'm not a Doritos guy. I was Sun Chips. I went
Sun Chips.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You like
I
Sun
love Sun
Chips?
Chips. Loved, past tense.
Loved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Nacho cheese Doritos was my go-to chip back in the day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Kyle pounded the nacho cheese.
And it's funny. I always tell people, if you're looking for a top list of ingredients to avoid at the grocery store, look at the back of Doritos, and there's your list right there.
Yeah. They did the work for you.
Yeah, they do. You got corn, vegetable oils, maltodextrin, corn syrup, MSG, artificial colors, artificial flavors. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah. Wait, so you said MSG. Which ingredient is that on here?
So that's monosodium glutamate. And it actually looks like they have MSG in both the US and the UK version. So I guess that is not banned in the UK.
Yeah. Yeah, Doritos are just kind of an avoid here, generally speaking.
Yeah. If you're looking for a better option, Siete has a bunch of different chips, including, I think they do have ranch chips, and then they also have nacho cheese chips as well. So
yeah,
it doesn't taste the same as Doritos. It tastes much more real and less flavorful. It doesn't, take over your taste buds. But it's a much, much better option.
So much better. Yep.
All right. I think we got one more.
Here.
One more.
Last one. Yeah. We're ending right where we started with cereal.
Oh, I love it.
We're talking about Frosted Flakes, and they call them Frosties in the UK. First of all, that's kind of funny. But
also another note. Sorry to interrupt you, but another note about cereal too. I guess it's not the UK because there's still the Tony the Tiger on there. But I know in certain countries you're not allowed to put characters on there because that makes kids want to buy it more. So it's illegal to put any characters like this on there. I guess it's not illegal in the UK.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So it's like a marketing law,
yes.
I guess.
Yeah. Because, I mean, think about it. You take your kid to the grocery store, they walk down the cereal aisle, they're just going to want to buy the cereal based on how it looks, how that character is, what color is the box, things like that. So at least some countries are aware of that and are not allowing these characters on the front of boxes.
Yeah, that is. The other thing, too, with grocery stores and cereal specifically is they'll put the kids' brands towards the bottom because that's eye level with kids. And so it's what they see and it's what they tend to grab. So just be careful of those that are down at the eye level of kids.
Looks like the main difference here for this one is that they have BHT, which is a preservative that they add in a lot of U.S. products. Things like Cheez-Its and other crackers and snacks have it. We've talked about this previously on podcast, but it's been shown to have many negative health effects. But besides that, I don't see a whole lot different. Again, just that, oh wait, no, sugar. Yeah, same sugar. I thought they used corn syrup, but yeah.
Yeah. BHT, like Red Dye 40, is actually illegal in the UK. So this one is one that they're banned from using. Unlike the high fructose corn syrup, where it seems like a choice that companies are making, BHT is banned. So you will never see that in any UK-based foods.
There you go.
Yeah. Awesome. So that covers some of the most popular foods, comparing and contrasting between the two different countries there.
Well, awesome. This was fantastic. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Clean Kitchen Podcast. If you found it helpful, highly recommend sharing this with a family member or a friend that you think could benefit from this information. If you're not already subscribed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, depending on where you're listening or watching this from, please hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode every Wednesday, 10 a.m. If you want to do us a favor, leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify as well. Helps us out tremendously. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and we'll see you next week.